Thank you. Come on, Grandma.
What really happened to Barry Weiss from Storage Wars? One minute he was the fan favorite with quirky charm and wild sunglasses, and the next he was gone. No farewell, no warning, just vanished from our screens. But the truth behind his sudden disappearance is far from simple. From serious health scares to behind-the-scenes decisions that shocked even insiders, there's more to Barry's story than you've heard. Stay with us as we uncover what really happened to the collector. Long before Barry Weiss became the quirky, eccentric treasure hunter that millions of viewers fell in love with on Storage Wars, he was already building an empire in the most unexpected place, the produce business. Working alongside his brother, Barry spent over 2 decades in the wholesale fruit and vegetable trade, continuing a family legacy that started with his grandfather. The business wasn't just successful, it was incredibly lucrative, setting Barry up with the kind of wealth that would later allow him to bid on storage units purely for the thrill of it rather than out of necessity. The produce empire gave Barry something most reality TV stars never have: complete financial freedom. While other cast members on Storage Wars were genuinely trying to make ends meet through their auction winnings, Barry could afford to keep the cool stuff he found instead of selling it for profit. This fundamental difference in motivation would become one of his most defining characteristics on the show. But there's more to Barry's pre-television life than just vegetables and fruits. Barry's connection to the world of entertainment and unique personalities goes back much further than most people realize. In a surprising twist, Barry actually appeared in a Discovery Channel production called Motorcycle Mania 3 alongside Jesse James, the famous motorcycle builder and former husband of Sandra Bullock. What makes this connection even more interesting is that Barry serves as Jesse James' godfather, a relationship that speaks to Barry's long-standing involvement in the motorcycle and custom vehicle world that would later become such a prominent part of his television persona. When he launched Storage Wars in 2010, they struck gold with a cast of characters that each brought something unique to the table. Dave Hester brought aggression and controversy. Jared Schultz and Brandy Passanti brought the everyday couple dynamic. And Daryl Sheets brought the serious professional buyer approach. But Barry Weiss brought something entirely different. He brought fun, unpredictability, and a genuine love for the hunt that had nothing to do with making money. From his very first appearance, Barry stood out like a peacock among pigeons. While other buyers showed up in practical vehicles and work clothes, Barry would arrive in everything from vintage hot rods to custom motorcycles, always dressed in his signature style of quirky t-shirts, leather jackets, and distinctive sunglasses. His entrances became legendary among fans who would tune in just to see what wild vehicle he would show up in next. One memorable episode featured Barry arriving in a convertible painted to look like a watermelon complete with seeds, while another saw him pull up in a vintage hearse that he decorated with skulls and crossbones. The nickname, The Collector, wasn't just a catchy title. It perfectly captured Barry's approach to the storage auction game. Unlike his competitors who saw dollar signs in every box, Barry saw potential additions to his already massive collection of antiques, vintage items, and oddball curiosities. His extensive knowledge of collectibles often gave him an edge in identifying valuable items that others might overlook, but more importantly, it made him genuinely excited about the process of discovery. Barry's wealth became apparent not just through his expensive vehicles and clothing, but through his bidding behavior. He would often bid on units that other buyers considered too risky or unprofitable simply because something about them sparked his curiosity. In one particularly memorable episode, Barry won a unit that contained mostly old books and paper goods, items that other buyers typically avoid because they're hard to sell and don't generate much profit. While his competitors rolled their eyes at what they saw as a wasted bid, Barry discovered several rare first-edition books and vintage magazines that were worth thousands of dollars to collectors. What made Barry's approach so refreshing was his genuine enthusiasm for the unexpected. In another classic episode, he discovered a unit filled with what appeared to be junk from someone's garage, including old tools, random car parts, and boxes of miscellaneous items. While other buyers would have been disappointed, Barry was thrilled when he found a rare vintage motorcycle engine buried under the clutter. The engine, which looked like scrap metal to untrained eyes, turned out to be from a 1940s Indian motorcycle and was worth more than Barry had paid for the entire unit. Barry's interactions with other cast members often provided some of the show's most entertaining moments. His laid-back attitude and obvious wealth sometimes irritated more serious buyers like Dave Hester, who took the business aspect of storage auctions very seriously. In one heated exchange, Dave accused Barry of driving up prices unnecessarily because he didn't need the money. To which Barry responded with his characteristic humor, suggesting that Dave should try having more fun with the process instead of treating it like life-or-death competition. The dynamic between Barry and the husband and wife team of Jared and Brandy was particularly interesting to watch. While they often struggled to make significant profits from their purchases, Barry would casually mention keeping items that were worth hundreds or thousands of dollars simply because he liked them. This difference in approach sometimes led to tension, but it also provided valuable learning opportunities as Barry would often share his knowledge about the history and value of various collectibles with his fellow buyers. Season 4 of Storage Wars marked a significant turning point for the show when both Barry Weiss and Dave Hester departed. While Dave's exit was surrounded by controversy and legal battles with the network, Barry's departure was much more amicable and reflected his personal choice to move on to other projects. The show's producers clearly understood Barry's value to the series, as evidenced by their continued efforts to bring him back in various capacities over the years. Barry's decision to leave Storage Wars wasn't driven by conflict or dissatisfaction with the show. Instead, it reflected his desire to return to what he playfully called being a professional slacker, a lifestyle that his financial success had afforded him long before he became a television personality. In interviews, Barry explained that he had accomplished what he set out to do with the show and wanted to leave while it was still popular and successful rather than staying too long and potentially damaging his positive relationship with both the network and the fans. The impact of Barry's departure on Storage Wars was immediately noticeable. While the show continued with its remaining cast members and introduced new personalities, many fans felt that something essential was missing without Barry's unique energy and approach. His absence created a void that was difficult to fill, as no other cast member could replicate his combination of wealth, knowledge, humor, and genuine enthusiasm for the treasure-hunting aspect of storage auctions. Barry's adult children, Julie and Jack, have been surprisingly supportive of their father's television career. Rather than being embarrassed by his quirky on-screen personality, they've embraced his fame and often express pride in his accomplishments. Barry has mentioned in interviews that his children get a kick out of his celebrity status and enjoy seeing their father pursue something he's genuinely passionate about, even if it's unconventional for someone his age. The success of Storage Wars opened doors for Barry to explore other television opportunities, leading to the creation of Buried Treasure, a spin-off series that premiered shortly after his departure from the main show. This new program gave Barry the chance to expand beyond storage auctions and explore his broader interests in antiques, collectibles, and unusual vehicles. The show's format allowed viewers to see more of Barry's personality and expertise while following him on adventures across the country. Buried Treasure showcased a different side of Barry's collecting passion, taking him to antique shops, estate sales, and private collections throughout America. The show's producers encouraged Barry to use unconventional modes of transportation, leading to some memorable episodes where he traveled in everything from vintage motorcycles to custom-built vehicles. One particularly entertaining episode featured Barry navigating Amish country in a horse-drawn buggy while searching for traditional handcrafted items and learning about the community's approach to simple living. The spin-off also allowed Barry to reconnect with some of his former Storage Wars colleagues in guest appearances, creating a sense of continuity for fans who missed seeing the original cast interact. These reunions often provided some of the show's best moments, as the chemistry between Barry and his former co-stars remained strong despite their different career paths. Despite its creative potential and Barry's charismatic hosting, Buried Treasure struggled to find the same audience that had embraced Storage Wars. The show's format, while interesting, lacked the competitive tension and unpredictability that made storage auctions so compelling to viewers. After just 8 episodes, the network decided not to renew the series, leaving Barry without a regular television platform for the first time in several years. The cancellation of Buried Treasure marked the beginning of a quieter period in Barry's public life. While he continued to pursue his collecting interests and maintain his extensive network of contacts in the antique and collectible world, he largely stepped away from the spotlight that had defined his life during the Storage Wars years. This transition allowed him to focus on personal interests and spend more time with his family, particularly his grandson Jack, who had become an important part of his life. In April 2019, Barry's relatively peaceful retirement from television was dramatically interrupted by a serious motorcycle accident that would change his life forever. The incident occurred while Barry was out riding with his friend Jamie Robinson of MotoGeo, engaging in one of his favorite recreational activities. According to reports, a car unexpectedly pulled out of a parking space directly into their path, giving Barry and his friend no time to avoid the collision. The accident resulted in severe injuries to Barry's chest and legs, including internal damage and multiple broken bones that required immediate medical attention. The impact was so severe that Barry was hospitalized for 2 months, spending much of that time in the intensive care unit while doctors worked to stabilize his condition and address his various injuries. The recovery process was long and painful, requiring multiple surgeries and extensive physical therapy. During his hospitalization, rumors began circulating on social media that Barry had died from his injuries. These false reports spread quickly through fan communities and gossip websites, causing considerable distress among Storage Wars viewers who had followed Barry's career for years. The misinformation highlighted how much Barry meant to fans and how his absence from public life had been noticed and felt by many people. Barry's recovery was slower and more challenging than many people realized. The accident had affected not just his physical health, but also his ability to engage in many of the activities that had defined his lifestyle for decades. Motorcycle riding, which had been both a passion and a regular part of his television appearances, became impossible during his recovery period and remained limited even after he was released from the hospital. The accident also impacted Barry's approach to risk-taking and adventure. While he had always been known for his willingness to try new experiences and take calculated risks in his collecting pursuits, the near-death experience forced him to reconsider his priorities and make adjustments to his lifestyle. Friends and family noted that Barry became more cautious and thoughtful about his activities, though he retained his essential optimism and humor throughout the recovery process. Following his recovery, Barry's relationship with the Storage Wars franchise took another unexpected turn with the creation of Storage Wars: Barry Strikes Back. This new spin-off took a different approach, featuring Barry alongside his friend Kenny Crossley as they provided commentary and behind-the-scenes insights while watching old episodes of the original series. The format was essentially a reaction show, allowing Barry to share stories and perspectives that viewers had never heard before. While Barry Strikes Back gave fans a chance to see their favorite treasure hunter again, the show faced criticism for feeling like a desperate attempt to recycle old content rather than create something genuinely new. Many viewers felt that the commentary format, while occasionally entertaining, didn't capture the excitement and unpredictability that had made Barry's original Storage Wars appearances so compelling. The show's reliance on existing footage also limited Barry's ability to demonstrate his knowledge and personality in fresh ways. The format of Barry Strikes Back also highlighted how much Barry had changed since his original Storage Wars days. While he retained his humor and knowledge, the physical limitations from his accident were sometimes apparent and his energy level seemed different from his earlier television appearances. These changes weren't necessarily negative, but they represented a new phase in Barry's life and career that some fans found difficult to adjust to. After just 10 episodes, Barry Strikes Back was cancelled, marking another disappointment in Barry's efforts to maintain a regular television presence. The show's failure seemed to confirm that lightning rarely strikes twice in the same place and that recreating the magic of Storage Wars was more difficult than anyone had anticipated. For Barry, the cancellation represented another transition point in his evolving relationship with television and fame. Despite the various setbacks and changes in his television career, Barry has continued to pursue his passion for motorcycles and vintage vehicles. In a 2017 interview, he expressed interest in creating programming that would combine his love of two-wheeled and four-wheel transportation with his travel experiences. His vision involved exploring different cultures and communities around the world while focusing on their unique approaches to transportation and craftsmanship. Barry's knowledge of motorcycles and vintage cars extends far beyond what most Storage Wars viewers ever saw. His expertise covers everything from classic American muscle cars to rare European motorcycles, and he's maintained relationships with builders, collectors, and enthusiasts throughout the automotive world. This network of connections has provided him with opportunities to participate in shows, events, and private sales that keep him engaged with his passion even when he's not on television. The relationship between Barry and his grandson Jack has become increasingly important in his life, particularly as he has stepped back from the demanding schedule of regular television production. Barry often speaks about how much he enjoys spending time with Jack and watching him grow up, describing the experience as one of the most rewarding aspects of his current life. The grandfather-grandson bond has given Barry a new perspective on what matters most and has influenced his decisions about how to spend his time and energy. Barry's personal life has remained relatively private throughout his years in the public eye. He's been divorced for over 30 years and has chosen to remain single, often joking that he has plenty of stuff to keep me busy when asked about his relationship status. His decision to prioritize his collecting interests, family relationships, and personal freedom over romantic commitments reflects his overall approach to life, choosing what brings him joy and fulfillment rather than what others might expect. The wealth that Barry accumulated through his produce business has given him the freedom to make choices based on personal satisfaction rather than financial necessity. This freedom has been both a blessing and a source of some criticism from Storage Wars fans who felt that his financial advantages made the competition unfair. However, Barry's response to such criticism has always been that he participated in the show for entertainment value rather than profit, and that his approach added a different dimension to the series that viewers seem to enjoy. Barry's collecting philosophy has remained consistent throughout his various career phases. He has always been more interested in the story behind an item than its monetary value, and he's maintained his preference for keeping interesting pieces rather than selling them for profit. This approach has resulted in an extensive personal collection that includes everything from vintage motorcycles and cars to rare antiques and unusual curiosities that most people would never think to collect. The storage auction world has changed significantly since Barry's original Storage Wars days, with increased competition, higher prices, and more sophisticated buyers making it harder for casual participants to find valuable items. Barry's early success on the show occurred during a time when storage auctions were less mainstream and the competition was less intense. The popularity of Storage Wars itself contributed to changes in the industry that made Barry's laid-back approach less viable for newer participants. After nearly a decade away from regular Storage Wars appearances, Barry made a surprising return to the show for its 14th season. His comeback was carefully orchestrated to maximize impact, with producers building anticipation through teasers and promotional materials that emphasized his return. The marketing campaign worked, generating significant buzz among longtime fans who had never stopped hoping to see Barry back in action. If there's one thing we know for sure, it's that Barry Weiss embodies something increasingly rare in reality television, a personality who remained true to himself throughout his various career phases. Whether he was arriving at storage auctions in exotic vehicles, sharing his knowledge about antiques, or recovering from serious injuries, Barry has consistently approached life with humor, resilience, and genuine enthusiasm. His story continues to evolve, and fans remain interested in whatever direction his adventures might take him next. If you were a fan of Barry like we were, let us know your favorite moment from Storage Wars in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another behind the scenes.